Hello and assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Kashif Kamran and welcome to the AAA Pre-March 2025 mock debrief. The mock is published by ACCA on the 7th of Feb 2025 and you can access the mock on the ACCA practice platform under the practice exam. Now, the interesting part with this March 25 mock published by ACCA is that it is the same mock ACCA published for the September 2024 exam sitting. Now, I have already done my mock debrief for September 2024, and considering that the March 2025 mock is similar to the September 2024 mock exam, so students can utilize my September 2024 mock debrief as a mock debrief for March 2025 mock. Now, when you will look at my mock debrief for March 2025 exams, because it relates from the September 24 mock, so you might listen or hear me saying September 24, and you might get a bit surprised with that. So don't get distracted with that. I'm already making it very clear that the September 24 mock debrief is to be used for March 25 mock because both the mock exams are the same. So you will utilize my September 24 mock debrief, and that consists of 4 videos. The first video would be the overview of the mock, followed by a video on question number 1 debrief, then a question number 2 debrief, and a question number 3 debrief. So you will gain all the insights, all the analysis about what to do, how to do the marking schemes, and all the tips and techniques I have shared in that particular September 24 mock debrief, which is now to be used for March 2025 mock debrief. So all of you, please take time out, do your mock exams, and submit to your tutor for review, and enjoy the 4 videos to follow this particular intro. All the best to all of you. Hello and assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Kashif Kamran and welcome to the September 24 mock debrief for advanced audit and assurance. In this overview session today, I will just be taking a crisp overview of the questions inside the pre-September 2024 mock released by ACCA. So let's investigate the mock question number 1, 2, and 3 in this particular session. I will be doing a session after this, which will be looking into the best answers from the student for this mock exam. And I will be investigating the student answers to guide you what was done well and what was not done well. So you can learn through the student answers, and then those particular student answers will be uploaded on the portal for your guidance. Now, this particular mock for September, let's open the first question and understand what was inside the first question. Just let me take on the practice platform. I hope you can see the mock exam now in front of your screen. This is the question number 1 of the mock exam. And honestly, there was nothing unusual in this particular question number 1, quite same as you must have seen while you were practicing the recent past papers or the recent 7 or 8 past papers, almost identical to the questions in the prior history. The question states that you are a manager in the audit department of the Sheringham Associates, a firm of chartered certified accountant, and you are responsible for the audit of the Thornham Textile, a listed company and a new audit client of your firm. Quite important information given by the examiner that it's listed company and a new audit client of your firm. And we know both these informations would be vital when you're solving the question somewhere they might be helpful to you, knowing that it's a listed company and a new audit client of your firm. The company is a manufacturer of a globally famous range of textiles, so on and so forth, and you are at the planning stage. Typically, you have 4 exhibits on the left-hand side. The first exhibit is the partner email, which tells you about the requirements, what you need to do. Then you have 3 more exhibits after that, the exhibit 2, 3, 4, which definitely helps you build up the answer about the questions which are in the partner email. Now, when we look at the partner email, the very first exhibit, the partner email tells us about what we need to do. And when you look at this particular partner email, this partner email is telling us, as a partner, the partner is telling us that I attended a planning meeting last week with the finance director and a representative of the audit committee of the company, at which we discussed the business developments during the year and the future plans, so on and so forth. Then look at the last line. He tells us that I have decided to use profit before tax as the basis for determining the materiality. So that is what we need to use. You are very familiar with how you determine and how you comment on the materiality before you start writing the audit risk or risk of material misstatement answer. And you must be knowing about the marking scheme allocation for that from my June 24 webinar as well. So the profit before tax is the factor on which the materiality is to be determined on, which will later help you to evaluate the audit risk and to comment on that whether the audit risk is material. In the first requirement, the partner is asking the manager to evaluate and prioritize the significant audit risk. So that's quite a typical requirement you must have seen in the past papers, and you know how to prioritize them. I've already guided them about this in my previous webinars in June 24 and going backwards. So evaluate and prioritize the significant audit risks. You have 22 marks for that. And it has been mentioned that you need to use profit before tax as a benchmark for determining materiality. You know, from the 22 marks, you will take away 3 marks for determining the materiality. Those are 3 technical marks, which will be deducted from 22. So ideally, you will be left with 19 marks on which you need to build up your audit risk. And you know, some of them are worth 3 marks, some can be of 2 marks. Like a new audit client, it's an audit risk question, so a new audit client will definitely be a detection risk. So such sort of risk can fetch you 2 marks. But the accounting risk, where you talk about materiality and you talk about accounting treatment, that sort of risk gives you 3 marks. So 22 minus 3, 19, and on 19 you will decide how many risks you are writing. If I divide 19 by 3, so it comes down to 7 audit risk on the safe side. I will be writing to wrap up the answer for this question. The important thing, which at times student tends to ignore, which is important, is the note number. It says you should refer to all exhibits when carrying out the risk evaluation. So that means it's very important for you to fetch the professional marks. And the professional marks means adherence to the instruction of the partner. Now, the partner is saying you should use all exhibits. So that's quite possible that one student might only take risk from exhibit 2 and 3, and he's not taking any risk from the exhibit 4. The best student will be that he is using all the exhibits 2, 3, and 4 to identify the risk of material misstatement of the audit risk. So adhering to the partner instruction is also important to take the professional marks. Then you have a B requirement. Typical requirement, you need to make procedures. There are 2 areas on which you need to make the procedure. One is the non-current assets relating to the planned closure of the halt factory. Now, we know when the examiner says develop procedure on something in the question number 1, that something must be a definite risk, that something must be a definite risk of material misstatement or an audit risk, because that is the easiest thing you can do in exam paper. So even by looking at the procedures, you know, there are 2 specific risks in the scenario, one relating to the non-current assets of the planned closure of the halt factory, and one is the share-based payment scheme. So there are 2 specific risks. Each one of them can give you 3 marks, and you can accumulate marks to 6. So when you start to read the exhibits, there will be a paragraph on the halt factory for sure. There will be a paragraph on the share-based payment scheme, which will be used not just for making procedures, but will also be used for determining the audit risk in both the situations. So share-based payment and the planned closure of the halt factory. You need to make procedures on that. Total marks are 10. So it's up to you. You can make 6 procedures on the halt factory and 4 on the share-based payment scheme, or 5 each. It's about you balancing the 10 marks, but it should not be that you're making 0 procedure on share-based payment and you're making all 10 procedures on halt factory. That will be wrong. You can have 5, 5, 6, 4. That's perfectly fine. Then comes the last requirement. And the last requirement, we know always in the question number 1, refers to a specific exhibit that has been the prior history of the AAA paper. That the last requirement is from a specific exhibit, and there is a specific problem in that exhibit which the partner wants your attention to be drawn on. It says, then using the details in relation to the internal audit team work on internal controls, in the exhibit number 4, I require. So the last requirement answer is in the exhibit number 4. So it's quite possible that you will not find much risk in exhibit 4, because primarily the exhibit 4 has been made for the requirement C. There is a chance there might be a risk in exhibit number 4, but exhibit 4 is primarily being used for the requirement C. So be sure whether you find a risk in exhibit 4 or not. That means when we're saying use all exhibits, it is quite possible that most of the risk will come from exhibit 2 and 3. We even have a risk in the opening paragraph that it's a new audit client. Okay, what we need to do from exhibit 4, discuss the factors to be considered when determining the nature and extent of reliance which can be put on the internal audit department. So what factors will you consider when you're placing the reliance on the internal audit department? Quite a bookish knowledge. You all are familiar with independence, competence, experience, and documentation from my course. And that's what the examining team is asking for. Discuss the factors that you should be considering in determining the extent of reliance which you could place on the internal audit department. You have 8 marks. Now, I have guided students that everything is worth 1 mark in AAA, but when you look at 8 marks and you decide in exam, I need to write 8 factors, and you think there are no 8 factors. We only learned 4 factors in the classroom. And technically, if you look at even the ISA which explores using the work of internal auditor, do also tell us about the 4 factors. So how can I write 8 factors here? Now, in this case, you will definitely be taking a marking scheme of 2. Even when I saw the marking scheme of this mock exam published by ACCA, they have taken a marking scheme of 2 for the C requirement. So in exam paper, sometime you might come across a situation where you think the points which we have learned in the syllabus are less and the marks are more. In that case, you can use a 2-mark marking scheme, just like the situation you're facing in C. So you will put independence, competence, experience, and documentation, and you will try to link it with exhibit number 4. You will not just write it as like a bookish knowledge, because generic answer is of no use in AAA paper. You need to make it specific to the case scenario and to the exhibit number 4. So you will go with 2 marks per factor. Rest A, B, C. Quite a usual question. No unusual element. I'll be exploring a student answer on A, B, C, and will be guiding you about a good student and a bad student. Instead of me sharing my answer, I'll just be exploring a student answer and will then be annotating the student answer to guide you that this is good, this is bad, and in that way you will be learning. And I will be uploading that annotated answer on the portal, so you can take a printout and you can revise the annotated answer to know, okay, this is what we can do and this is what we should not do. And in that way, it will become a more productive answer. Okay, now moving towards the section B of the paper, where we have 225 marks question. Let's see what was put into the 225 marks question. Okay, this is the question number 2, and this question is around, you are a manager in the forensic department of a firm known as Soba and Company. So the moment you look at the very first line that you are a manager in the forensic department of Soba and Company, the very first thought which comes to your mind is that this question is around forensic. You have recently received requests from 2 companies, Udon and Remen. So you have received requests from 2 companies. Probably those requests will be around forensic investigation. We'll read the requirements and understand that. Udon is a corporate finance client of SOBA, but not an audit client of the firm. So SOBA is not an audit client of your firm. You're not conducting audit of SOBA, but it's a corporate finance client of your firm. That means you're giving some sort of advice or some sort of business consultancy to this company, but you're not the auditor of this company. So you're giving the non-audit services to this client, not the audit services. And you are also provided with the details of a potential fraud which has occurred at Remen. Remen is not an existing client of your firm. So Remen is also not an existing client of your firm. And same goes with UDON. But one important thing with UDON is that we're providing them, it is our corporate finance client, but it is not an audit client of the firm. So that is important information, right? So one company is UDON, one is Remen. There is certain fraud which has taken place at Remen, and probably they want us to investigate that fraud as part of forensic. Just let's see the requirement. Okay, now you have requirements on the left-hand side. So you open up the requirements about UDON and Remen. And the first requirement, part A, is quite a knowledge-based requirement. It says, discuss how the requirement of ISQM1 should improve the audit quality and help restore public trust in audit profession. So how does quality management, ISQM1, would help restore public trust in the profession and improve quality? That's quite a journal knowledge question if you have read through the article around ISQM1 and you have taken my lecture on that how does ISQM1 improves audit quality and restore the public confidence in the audit profession? You should focus on the following areas. So you're not writing about all the 8 components of ISQM1, all the 8 components of system of quality management. You're just focusing on 2. One is acceptance and continuation of the client engagement. You know that is one component of system of quality management. And second is the firm-wide culture and the system of quality management. So you know the firm-wide culture is also part of the system of quality management, basically the control environment, the culture in the firm. How these 2 factors on your screen would help improve the overall audit quality, and how these 2 factors would help restore trust in the audit profession. And the important thing is, note, you need not to refer to the exhibit when answering this requirement. So examiner is making pretty clear that this is a bookish knowledge. You need not to refer to any exhibits for the answer. Just recall ISQM1 and just think that how these 2 factors will build upon the audit quality and restore public trust in the audit profession. This is for 6 marks. So every point you write about audit quality or restoring the trust of the public in audit profession under the 2 headings will give you 1 mark each. So in total, you need to write 6 points. You can write 3 points under acceptance and continuation. You can write 3 points under the firm-wide culture and the system of quality management. So again, I'll be showing you a best student answer and will evaluate what should have been written in this answer. If I need to add on something, I'll be adding that in the student answer to help you with an answer like such. I've also mentioned in the June 24 webinar that ISQM1 and 2 contain lots of knowledge, and those knowledge can be tested. And in the recent past papers, because we know not every past paper is published by ACCA, they make the hybrid version, March and June combined together. But lots of students have given me a feedback that in the recent past papers, they've seen examiner asking 6 to 8 marks of theory around ISQM1 and 2. Even in the June 24 mock, the debrief I did for the June 24 mock, I think this is available on the portal, even there was a requirement around ISQM1 testing the knowledge, and that has come even in the September 24 mock as well. So 6 marks of knowledge, no exhibit to refer to. Then you have the B and C requirement. Definitely one requirement will refer to the UDON company and one will refer to the Remen company. Let's see the B requirement. Using the information in Exhibit 1, now Exhibit 1 is about the UDON company. So using the information given to you about the UDON company, evaluate the professional and ethical matters which should be considered before SOBA and company accepts the forensic assignment, including necessary safeguards. So what ethical and professional matters will you consider before you accept upon UDON for forensic investigation, including any safeguards. So what sort of safeguards will you be taking if there is any ethical issues? Because you know that SOBA is your corporate finance client, but it's not an audit client of your firm. So you will open up the exhibit on UDON, you will go through it, you will find the issues like ethical and professional issues, which you should be considering as an audit firm before you accept the engagement on forensic from UDON. And you know, this is quite a typical practice management question we get in block 4 other assignments, and you're very familiar with it, including necessary safeguards. So you have 8 marks here. So in total, you will be writing 8 points, and those 8 points include safeguards. So if you're writing a safeguard, you're also getting 1 mark as well. Then in the last requirement, C, using the information in Exhibit 2. Now we know the Exhibit 2 is about the Raman company. So using that information and assuming that SOBA and company accepts the engagement. So we are taking an assumption that already for Raman, you have accepted the engagement. Recommend procedures which you should be performing in relation to the matters identified by the financial controller, Seth William. So when you open up the Exhibit 2 about Raman, there must be some issues which has been raised by the financial controller. Around those issues, you need to make procedures. Total marks are 6. So 6 procedures from Exhibit number 2. And for the first exhibit, you need just to apply the practice management knowledge in accepting the engagement from the UDON company. So pretty simple question. You know, procedures around forensic is a very regular requirement, or the matters in accepting engagement, again, is a very frequently asked requirement. And ISQM1, you know, that is important. Even ISQM2 is important. There are plenty of knowledge elements which could be tested, just like this mock exam. And this will definitely prepare you well for the upcoming exam. So this is the question number 2. Now, finally, to the last question, the question number 3. You know, one of the question in the section B has to be from the completion and reporting stage, syllabus area E. So definitely this question is on the completion and reporting stage. That is mandatory. So that is must. It says it is the 1st of July. You are a manager of Bob, a firm of chartered certified accountant, responsible for the audit of Rashid Company for the year ended 31st of March. The company is listed soft drink manufacturer of distributor. So let's just mark listed because listed can play a crucial part in answer. The statement recognized revenue, profit, and total assets. Materiality has been set by the partner in accordance with the internal quality procedure, and the materiality is 2.2 million. So again, the materiality is given. You will not be calculating your own materiality. The materiality is 2.2 million. So anything equals to and over 2.2 million will be considered as material, and anything less than 2.2 million individually will be considered as immaterial. So you're not calculating the materiality. The materiality is already given. You will use this materiality to determine whether something is material or not. Since recent past attempts, we have seen that even in section B, examining team do give the materiality level to you, making your life easier, that you're not calculating the materiality, rather you are using the materiality which has been given in. Now, we have 2 exhibits here, and mostly in section B, we have 2 exhibits, not more than that. Let's first look at the requirement. The requirement is quite typical as like the past papers. It says using the summary of the uncorrected misstatement exhibit 1. So in the exhibit number 1, you have a summary of uncorrected misstatements. You must have seen that plenty of time in the past paper. Explain the matters which should be discussed with management in relation to each of the uncorrected misstatements for 9 marks. You must have seen this question plenty of time. A schedule of uncorrected misstatements and matters you should be discussing with management in relation to each of the uncorrected misstatement. You know, the matter can be materiality, the matter can be treatment, the matter could be risk, and that's what you're discussing. And the matter is the impact, that because of that uncorrected misstatement, what is under and overstated. You can even write the individual impact of the matter on the audit report as well. Assuming that the management does not adjust either of the misstatements. So management does not adjust either of the misstatements. So we're talking about aggregate. Explain the actions to be taken by the auditor and justify an audit opinion and the impact on the report. So the part B is dealing with aggregate. If the management is not adjusting any of the misstatement, total up, aggregate, what is the aggregate impact on the audit opinion and on the audit report, and what actions will you take to ensure that the management do rectify the aggregate misstatement? Else you will issue either a qualified opinion or an adverse opinion, depending upon what is the total of the aggregate. You need to find that out. You are not required to consider the impact on the key audit matter section of the audit report. So examiner is making very clear that I'm asking about impact on the opinion. But a lot of time, the students see the word, it's a listed company, and they get distracted and they start forcing the CAM when there is no need of CAM. See, examiner is asking you to justify an opinion. These are uncorrected misstatements. And an uncorrected misstatement means it's a misstatement. For a misstatement, you cannot have a CAM. Examiner is making you very clear that I don't want CAM anywhere. So at times, we don't even read the notes. And we still write CAM just by looking at it's a listed company and not realizing the fact that it is a misstatement, which is uncorrected. So uncorrected misstatement would either result into a qualified opinion or an adverse opinion, as the case may be. So this is a total of 14 marks. In the B requirement, using the Exhibit 2. So Exhibit 2 will be used for the B requirement. Comment on the professional and ethical matters arising and recommend actions which should now be taken by Bob. So there is some problem in the exhibit number 2, ethical and professional problem. You need to investigate that and you need to write actions. 6 marks, so not a lengthy requirement. In 6 marks, you are writing actions. In 6 marks, you're writing the issues. So you'll open up the exhibit 2, you will find what is the issue. You will investigate the issues. Every issue will give you 1 mark and every action will give you 1 mark. You're very familiar with ethical and professional matters. So a typical reporting question around uncorrected misstatements and the aggregate impact on the opinion. The note was important of the examiner, and then there is an ethical and professional issues coming in the B requirement. So overall, the mock paper is in line with the previous exam settings, nothing unusual. I will just be taking hold of a good student answer. I'll go through it and then annotate it for you in the next session to guide you about what could have been, what is the good part of the answer and the bad part of the answer. So I'll do 1 session on question number 1, the answer, and I will do 1 session on section B, question number 2 and 3, followed by this overview session on the mock pre-September 2024. I hope this overview would help you down in getting the right answer and framing your mindset for the upcoming exams. So this is your tutor, Kashif Kamran, signing off from this mock overview session. This is the pre-September 24 mock. Take care, goodbye, and Allah Hafiz.